My favorite weapon combination in Warframe is a little bit of an atypical choice. It is something that I don't see anyone using ever, whether I'm playing in public groups and I have just a group of 3 other randoms with me in whatever kind of mission types, or if I watch YouTube or I watch Twitch for Warframe, I never see anyone using thrown weapons, specifically the Glaive Prime. It's really one of my favorite things. I really enjoy this weapon a whole lot, especially with the whole mechanic where you can pair the glaive or any thrown weapon with a one-handed pistol, and you can have kind of a 2-in-1 weapon style approach. This was much better in kind of like Melee 2.0 because it was awkward switching from your weapons to your melees back and forth, and in Melee 3.0 that is mostly fixed. This is kind of a holdover from that, but still, it is a really powerful combination when set up correctly, because these are 2 weapons that are intended to work in tandem with each other to make each other stronger. Or I guess maybe it's not going both ways, it's kind of only going one way, but that's okay. Basically, the idea here is we have a Maradetron with a lot of status chance on it and a lot of multi-shot. Basically, the idea is to put as much status onto enemies as we possibly can. And then, with condition overload on our melee, we are going to detonate our glaive and do a lot of damage. So for those that don't know, the glaive, when being thrown, has the ability to be manually detonated in midair. Like, you could literally make your glaive explode in midair. So the idea here is to use power throw as a mod to puncture through enemies for the first hit. You get a force slash proc on them, and then detonate it immediately after you hit them to basically double hit enemies, get force slash procs, and do big, big damage. So we'll go ahead here, use a Larva, group these guys up. We'll load them all up with a bunch of status, throw our glaive in, and detonate it inside the group. And they all melt. These are level 155 heavy gunners. Sure, we didn't completely kill everything. They're left at about 20% HP. But, you know, we only did 1 magazine of the Maradetron, 1 glaive throw and detonation, and that's it. So pretty good damage. Let's see here if we group this group up. We'll load them up, do the detonation, load them up, do the detonation. Nothing lives, right? Not even close. They have no chance of surviving this amount of damage. And while sure, this isn't, you know, significantly better than a lot of other options that are in the game for dealing with enemies that are of this threat level, let's say, but it's still plenty good. Like, this is very competitive. This is good enough for the vast majority of situations that you'll find yourself in within Warframe, even in Steel Path, and I quite like this setup. So what we'll do here, we'll go ahead and just take a look through the main idea of the build here. So we'll start off with the pistol. You can use whatever pistol that you like. However, I specifically enjoy the Maradetron. I have 6 Forma in mind because I am a crazy person. This is probably not a build that you should necessarily attempt to copy necessarily, but basically any one-handed pistol that you like that is able to load a bunch of enemies up with a lot of status with punch through is definitely what you are looking for with a build like this. Otherwise, we're just going for multi-shot, status chance, and thermomagnetic shells is a meme. Absolutely not at all necessary. You could just delete this from the build and it does the exact same thing. Hornet Strike is not super necessary either. It's just, you know, we'll get a little bit of base damage, so when we're playing against enemies that are maybe sub-level 100, the base damage may actually help us. But realistically, the Maradetron is not, with this setup, necessarily intended to kill anything. It is just meant to load us up with status for a mod called Condition Overload on our Glaive. So taking a look at this, very, very simple build. Condition Overload will give us plus 120% melee damage per status type affecting the target. So that's why we're loading up as much status as possible with our pistol, because it doesn't matter how many stacks of an individual status an opponent has. If they have 1 stack of heat versus 10 stacks of heat, it does not change how Condition Overload functions. It's purely the number of different statuses that you have. So with our Maradetron, we are able to inflict multiple different statuses: heat, radiation, and viral. And with a high status chance and the number of projectiles that we are shooting, thanks to our ridiculous amount of multi-shot, we're going to be proccing heat, rad, and viral on a lot of enemies very, very quickly. The thing that makes this setup really, really good as well is that Viral and Heat are going to effectively reduce our opponent's health by a pretty wide margin. Heat will reduce their armor, and Viral will make their actual health itself take significantly more damage. Radiation is just easy to fit in here as well. It's not necessarily necessary. It's actually pretty much inherent to the Maradetron, so you're not going to get rid of it regardless, but it's fine to have because it has pretty good attack bonuses against a wide variety of targets, and the proc effect that it gets is also useful because if an enemy were to survive your Glaive Prime plus Maradetron, which they shouldn't, but if they do, then they're going to be confused and shooting their allies and not fighting you, and they're CC'd, and that's fine. But looking back to the Glaive Prime build, Condition Overload is the star of the show here. Also, Power Throw is very, very important. This will make a lot of people kind of sad because it is not... This damage mod, this mod does not say damage. It does not increase your damage by any amount, but this mod represents damage. This mod will give you damage because by allowing you to punch through one target and hit an entire group, it allows you to spread out your one melee attack hit normally into multiple enemies, and it also gives you the extra time that you need to, once you strike that group of enemies, to detonate your glaive midair and then hit them a second time. So not only are you hitting a group of 8 enemies or however many once each, you're hitting them twice each, thanks to Power Throw. So this is a multiplier on your damage, or it represents a multiplier on your damage, even though it doesn't specifically give you just base damage in and of itself. So this is really, really important for the build. Otherwise, we have Corrupt Charge at 1 off the top, specifically because Corrupt Charge will give you plus 22.5% initial combo at this fusion level. If you go to the top, it'll give you plus 30 initial combo, which doesn't actually help you at all. The idea with initial combo here is that we're going to start off at always having a 2x multiplier on our glaive. What that means is that whenever you do a heavy attack, you're going to have the damage just basically multiplied by 2. That's an oversimplification, but it's easy enough to just think of it that way. When you take Corrupt Charge to the max rank and you get plus 30 initial combo, you're still in the 2x multiplier bracket. So it doesn't actually help you at all. In addition, you have a bigger negative here. You reduce even more of your combo duration, which just doesn't actually help you. So plus 30 initial combo and minus half your combo duration, you're just hurting yourself more than helping with that negative. There is really no reason whatsoever to have this Corrupt Charge mod fused all the way up to full, unless you have something like a Riven alongside your weapon that gives you some initial combo, and then the plus 30, and then like a low amount of initial combo from your Riven is enough to push you into the 3x multiplier range. Unless you have something like that, I really don't believe this Corrupt Charge mod fully ranked is ever really worth it, unless you have a very specific reason for using it. Like maybe, for example, your Focus School gives you an option to not lose your combo counter quite as quickly as you normally would. Anyways, apart from that, we have Crit built into here. We have Prime Fever Strike just for as much damage as we can. Vicious Frost to give us Viral and keep our status chance a little bit higher while not costing us too much on Drain. This is a 3-forma build. You could absolutely get rid of Corrupt Charge. You could absolutely get rid of Vicious Frost and just not build for elemental damage at all and just go purely all in on crit and double hitting and exploding, which, by the way, when you explode the glaive, that counts as a heavy attack. So we have a heavy attack mod in here as well. So these are all very, very powerful. Now, why don't we take a look at my favorite version of this, which does have a Riven, and this is kind of a god roll Riven. But, of course, this is not necessary. This just makes the process go faster. You saw how well we did against level 155 enemies without a Riven, so now we'll take a look at Rivens on both the Maradetron and the Glaive. This one gives me critical chance, ×2 for heavy attacks, just like every critical chance mod does, as well as critical damage. So with these mods, you basically see that my critical chance goes from 70.4% at base to 115.5% at base. So every crit is going to be yellow with a chance to be orange, and when I detonate it, I'm basically doubling that. So you're going to see waving away a lot of the math, you're going to see a lot of red crits with this Riven on here. So I strongly recommend, if you are a Glaive fanatic like me, trying to pick up a Glaive Riven. They're not very expensive on Riven Market or Warframe Market auctions or wherever you choose to buy your Rivens from. they are really not all that expensive. But for the main build here, it's the same thing. Viral, heavy attack, crit. Punch through, and some initial combo. Just want as many different multipliers to our damage as possible. Instead of loading everything up into one specific stat, we are just trying to basically get as much of a variety of multipliers as possible, because that'll oftentimes be really, really good. And by the way, this cheaper version of the Maridetron, we have this spot open. You could put another damage mod in here. You could put another status mod in here. You could do something else if you really wanted to. But we'll go ahead and look at my completely ridiculous, you should not try to copy this, 6 Forma Maridetron, specifically because I just really like the Maridetron. I like the way it feels. It's just a really, really nice gun for me. It's the only Mara weapon in the game, so that's really cool. But this Riven is not really a god roll, but multi-shot and status chance is going to give us, well, even better amounts of status, a stupid number of projectiles. It's going to be even easier for us to load up enemies with our status. So that is really, really cool. Oh, and one other thing to mention that I just remembered, with the Glaive Prime, with this Riven, you're probably wondering about the minus 1.9 range on the Riven. It doesn't actually matter with the Glaive, because when you detonate it and do the heavy attack, your range is set at least according to the wiki, 4.8 meters. A minus or positive range mod on your weapon does not change the radius of the detonation. It only changes basically the width of the glaive as it's flying through the air. So I barely notice this Riven when I'm doing normal quick attacks. I barely notice it when I'm throwing it at enemies. I don't feel like it's harder for me to hit enemies because the glaive isn't as big. But the detonation is still full size. So that is very, very cool. So let's make sure I have the right setups on both. I do. Okay, let us go ahead, re-simulate an entire group of enemies, and let's take a look at how this does fully leveled up. So a lot of red numbers there, and everything explodes. Thank you, /procs. Very cool. Let's see if I just do a single shot with my pistol. We'll see how well that does. So 1 down, 2 down, 3, 4. Okay. So these two are still alive. But can they survive a second red crit forced /proc? No, they cannot. This is just very, very powerful. Even without the... man, I need some energy. Even without the Riven, it's still a very powerful setup. But with... oh, is it good. We could also throw a Breach Surge in here, because why not? It is just a stupid amount of damage. It is a completely stupid amount of damage that just does not... it does not need to happen. But you can make it happen, and it feels very nice. Let's just do that again, because Breach Surge is like one of my favorite abilities. Breach Surge the group. Group them together. Load them with status. Bop. Nothing lives that. Not even close. It's actually crazy. This is such a fun loadout. I love it a whole lot. Even without the Rivens, it's still very, very powerful. And just for the sake of it, because we never showed it with like a Breach Surge without the Rivens, let's go ahead and switch back to the, like, my cheap versions of these that have, you know, hopefully quite a bit less Forma requirements. And let's just actually toss some Breach Surge into the mix and just kind of see how this feels. Because I haven't actually tested this, so this is going to be a live test with both of us, just because I'm curious. Actually, I need energy. Okay. So we will do this. We'll Breach Surge the group, load them up, and explode. Yeah? Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Breach Surge is pretty strong, as is the Glaive. I really like this entire setup a lot. It is very, very fun for me. Anyways, everyone, I think that'll just about do it for this little gushing video. Give the Glaive and the Maridetron, or whatever status applicating pistol you like, a try. Because I think they are very, very fun. And if DE ever makes gas damage a little bit better, you can absolutely build your Glaive for gas. And hoo-wee, is that going to kill stuff. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you again soon. Take care.